Every time I make a tier list, these two games are at the top.
Hello!
Need for Speed Most Wanted and Need for Speed Heat. They are both by far my favorite Need for Speed game. And so it kind of had me thinking, which of these two games is the best? So as usual, we've got our categories and we've actually bulked them up to a number 14 different categories. This is going to be a long one, but it's kind of deserved. It's going to be extensive. These are all the categories. Yeah. Now, we are going to start with feel of these games. Now, both of these games, for me, absolutely maximize feel. Which, if I initially ask you, Matthew, which game gives you the best vibes, which game would it be? Just
probably this.
You know, it's a hard thing. I mean, I just look at this blacklist and it excites me in places. But then you got a Heat. We're missing the Tu Manera song, Tu Manera, and then you could do the whole switcheroo where you change to night, and this instantly adds just a different level of feel. You're instantly hip hop music. You got Kendrick with the "Mama I Hit a Lick." You've got police that are here to rip your face off for doing absolutely... Okay, no, not for doing nothing, but both games have immaculate feel. But what I'm going to say, my vote is probably going to be Most Wanted 05. I'm sorry, Heat. I'm sorry, Heat. You are so... It's so close. It's so close. Now, this is a bit of a harder category to describe because obviously this game is from 2005 and Need for Speed Heat is much newer than that at 2019. But I'm gonna ask visually which game is better. But here's the caveat, because that would be unfair. Of course the new game's gonna look better, right? I think it would more be a better question of how does the game look compared to other games around its time. That's the best way to do it. So at the time of the previous Need for Speed, obviously I was playing GTA San Andreas. We were on the PS2 still. I mean, we just started the 360 not long after, and whereas here, what we were many years into GTA 5, but remember, we're talking like the PS4 version of GTA 5 at the point this game came out, right?
Yes.
What are the really good... Okay, The Last of Us was 2013, so that was impeccably beautiful, that game.
It's one of the most beautiful games.
It is.
Actually, remastered. It had remastered.
The remaster was out, yeah. So, once again, still quite complicated, but I'm going to say, if we compare big guns, GTA is the big guns, right? In pretty much every generation. Maybe not the PS1. Those were pretty crap. So, Most Wanted 05 next to San Andreas, and Need for Speed Heat next to GTA 5, even though the gap was huge. Let's say The Last of Us. I've got to say, Most Wanted 05 looked better than GTA, but GTA is open world, and that's why. But today, that issue is less of a problem. I'd say The Last of Us and GTA 5 look better than Need for Speed. I mean, not better, but...
Well, I mean, Most Wanted was on the 360.
It was. I've got to say, Most Wanted 05, in terms of the era, it looked better. Those open world games didn't have the power, the capacity to look as good as, say, a racing game where you can't get out and interact and have all these little objects around the map. Oh, for God's sake, the police!
No, you're listening about 5 seconds.
Oh, no, he's right behind me. Oh, I'm Heat level 3, baby. Oh, no! Oh, no! I've left the mud on again.
Oh, my God.
There's going to be a million cops any second. Now I need to turn that off. Okay, Most Wanted 05 gets the graphics win. Most people are going to be very confused by that, but hear me out. It makes sense. Because if you think about Need for Speed 2015, that, we agreed, looked better visually. And that game's older, so 2005. Our next category is all about the cars. You can't have a racing game without... I mean, I guess you could. But you can't have a car racing game without cars.
let's just look at that number in the corner.
The number of cars. There are 32 cars. Now, it would be, again, unfair to compare the number of cars, but quite frankly, Need for Speed hasn't increased that much in terms of its car number. So one thing that is definitely clear with the cars in this game is there are a hell of a lot more lower end cars. And that's something that I think Need for Speed has definitely forgot.
Yeah, it's a Fiat, for God's sake.
I know, it's beautiful. Need for Speed Heat. How many cars have we got? 134. Okay, maybe I was a bit rude. There's actually 134 cars apparently in this game, which I thought there was like 70 in my head. Now, the Need for Speed Heat has a perfect number of
But
cars.
remember,
I'd
there's some
say
duplicates in this.
there are some duplicates where they've got convertible versions of the same car available, which, again, is fine. I don't mind that. It's a nice way to buff it up, and that's realistically how a lot of games do it. They have different versions. They have the M3 and the 328i. I don't give a damn.
There's also those three. I think they're BMW.
There are 3 Hurricanes. No, 4. I think there's 4 Hurricanes.
No, not Hurricanes. What are those free cars? There's 3 of them.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so anyway, let's just say there's about 100 plus cars, right? So for Need for Speed back then, 30 cars was quite low, I would say, but now, today, I'd say 130, so now 150-ish. It's pretty good. But as I was saying, the difference between Most Wanted's car list, which let's actually go through them. So the Supra is probably the first performance car that I would say that's in this list. A4, Eclipse. We've got the Clio V6, the RX-8. So we are about, realistically, 14 cars. So about halfway through the car list, we're still in low-end cars. Whereas the Need for Speed Heat, let's see some. We've got an M2 there. The M2 is really far down the list. I guess it's listing by price, because right next to it is a bloody Corvette. So here is the Evo where we stopped on the previous one. So yeah, again, about half if you ignore the convertibles and stuff, because those are a little bit later. So it's actually, they're not far off in terms of the low-end cars. I do wish there were more. That's my main takeaway. I do wish there were more low-end cars, because I feel like you jump into a supercar very quickly these days. Or do you prefer jumping into a supercar quickly?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I don't want it given to me out of a wheel spin, thank you.
Now, at the high-end cars, this is, again, quite difficult, because we've got McLaren P1s, we've got the McLaren F1, we've got the Pagani Huayra. They're clearly going for a different vibe in terms of the high-end cars, but nonetheless, the hypercar was birthed around this era of cars.
We saw a Lamborghini there.
Yes. Murcielago was one of the best cars in this game. We've got the Ford GT, SLR McLaren, and the Carrera GT is the top of the line. We had less hypercars, but it made them feel more special. This is a really difficult one. I'm just gonna go with my heart. No, Matthew, you decide. Which of the two do you think has the better car list?
Since there's more low-end cars, Most Wanted.
I'm gonna say Heat. I'm gonna say Heat. I said it.
You have to give them a point each now.
All right. It's a draw. So next up, I have decided to buy a Murcielago in Need for Speed Heat and a Murcielago in Need for Speed Most Wanted. Now, of course, they're not exactly the same car, but it's worth knowing how the customization differs between the two games. Now, fun fact about Most 105, it's actually a game that a lot of people would refer to as downgraded in terms of its customization, because once we go into the garage and we go to the parts, that's the wrong button. For some reason, I don't know how many of you have actually played on the PC, but for some reason, B becomes A, and
What?
A becomes I don't know.
Some games it does that.
It's kind of weird.
It did that on. Oh, what GTA did it do on? Vice City for me.
Yeah. So what we've got in Need for Speed Most 105 is body kits. We've only got 3 of them, which I guess is similar, but we can't mix and match them. So body kit 1 doesn't really change a whole bunch. I mean, technically, we've got 2 body kits on the Murcielago. They're pretty simple, they're pretty basic, but nonetheless, we have customization, and I remember really enjoying it at the time, so didn't really have a problem with it. However, it definitely was a downgrade compared to the previous Need for Speeds, where you could pick and choose individual pieces. Now, you can still do spoilers, and there are 15 spoilers in the sport category, which you can then go to tuner, then you can go to sports carbon, tuner carbon. So there's quite a lot. You could also then individually do the hoods, which again, there were 35, but all of them were the exact same across all of the cars. So some of them looked a little bit shite. And you have roof scoops. 67 roof scoops, which again, some of them are just moving. It felt like, all right, I'm not going to clear coat it anymore.
Don't you mean sugarcoat?
Yes, I do. Right, customization in Need for Speed Heat. Now, this is actually the SV, which is, again, a very special version of it, but it's going to have more limited options. So the options are vastly more limited straight away. But we have a Liberty Walk kit. We can do the wing mirrors. We can do the, again, rear fenders. You can do the spoiler if you wish. But overall, definitely more limited.
Yes.
in terms of the amount of stuff, but like you can choose individual options and the customization overall. These were probably terrible examples, but I wanted to try and have the same car across both games. I don't know, Matthew. How are you feeling? What are you thinking?
The thing is, there's more stuff in Most Wanted.
There is more stuff for this car specifically. In most cars, you do have more options, but you have more choice over every part in the modern Need for Speeds.
It'll probably be this then, won't it?
And of course the stance tuning, which we didn't have before. I know it's weakened, and the exhaust tuning, we didn't have anything like that before, and the engine swap. So I think overall it's got to be Need for Speed Heat. Heat won its first category, ladies and gents. These are the scores so far. The reason Heat has 2, by the way, that's the draw category. Yeah. Now, friends, we get to have a bit of a watch party because we are comparing the story between both of these games. And straight away, I've got to say, I love both. So this is going to be hard.
Paper.
Papers, please.
I need your pink slip.
I always thought of him as Eminem.
Whoa, why did he shake his head?
First, I'm gonna take your ride, then I'm gonna take your girl. Get ready for that.
Stay focused. He's rolling on a lot of power, so wait for him to
I don't know, man. I love this story, but it's a, people call it cheesy. I don't actually, you know what? I don't care. It's pleasantly cheesy. I don't mind the cheese level. So the beginning of the game, you're racing, you arrive in Rockport, you gotta take on the Blacklist, and Razor is the tiny baby at the beginning of the Blacklist. And what an intro it is. They throw you into the iconic BMW M3 GTR, non-road legal, and introduce you to this crazy world. Honestly. Then you enjoy the M3 and...
Hey, there's something wrong with your ride. You left a huge oil slick at the start line.
How convenient.
You have to end the race fast.
How convenient. And then cross!
Oh man, did you pick the wrong street to run on?
Probably my favorite actually is cross.
This is a nice car. Gauges, shifter, wheel. Is this all for show, or is there something more I should know about?
I'd like to take a little peek under the hood.
I've got a wife!
She looks familiar.
I think she's in like some Star Wars stuff as well. So you eventually get done in. Once again, you saw the engine brakes because there's no oil in it. And Razor steals your car. He destroyed the engine though, likely. Which is a very expensive job in an M3 GTR.
I knew you weren't Blacklist material.
Hey, he probably sold his Mustang.
Hey, where's your punk money now?
What happened?
What happened is he's on show and no go.
She's mine now.
People call it cheesy, but I don't think that's the right description.
Hard and flat.
For this era, this was probably less cheesy than the majority of stuff. I mean, probably, I know it was.
The winner circle's over here.
Run away, son. Oh, it's me.
It's Carlito.
Oh, for God's sake.
Bus stop's that way, champ.
We need to get them tints fixed, mate. You can't see anything. Oh, God. Now, the thing is,
You were the one. But you're mine now.
as much as I love this story, after this point, it's
Hey,
kind of
where's your
limited.
fancy ride?
Who cares? He's not gonna need him where he's going.
It's very heavy at the
In
beginning
the big house, baby.
and kind of thin beyond that. Saying that, no, I still absolutely love the story throughout. I think that's the advantage that Heat gets. So the idea is there's a race event in town and the media are not very happy. They're street racing.
More dangerous territory. To meet this challenge is Palm City's very own Lieutenant Frank Mercer, head of the newly formed
big Mercer boy.
high-speed task force.
Street racing has no place on public roads. Mark
Okay.
my words, if you are out there and you're engaging in this type of activity, we will find you.
Okay.
If you think that you can get away by just hitting the gas, then you're in for a surprise. Because we are coming after you hard, and we are coming after you fast. Trust me, there is no escape.
Okay, boss. So here you are being introduced to this new world where everyone's arriving for this festival, basically. Joe Mama and Anna.
How we doing? Hanging in there.
You do a race, introduce you to the high-end car.
This cop's still on me.
But the problem is Joe Mama is not very good.
I'm on the bridge. That cop's trying to...
Poor Joe Mama.
Doesn't die at least.
That's unfortunate.
No, it isn't.
Now, I want to say problem number one. So they didn't actually give us the pole star until the first update of Heat, meaning some of us had weeks before we actually got access to the pole star, the star car of the game. Problem number two is the star car was ruined by Joe because it's not interesting. It's in the water. Sure, the cops got hold of it. They were going to take parts of it, do the dirty cop stuff. But they've made a car uncool because you drove it for 5 seconds and then it was taken off you. And then you don't see it again if you beat the game. And then, oh, by the way, here. So they've removed that excitingness. The M3, you were unbeatable. You were wronged. That's the only reason that it was such an... It could beat anything. It was the best car. And then you give us the Polestar, and it's okay. It's pretty cool. Cool wide body. It's a hybrid. And you put it in the water. It doesn't really have that same effect. And where's the cool livery and the design? So that's already a kind of flaw with the philosophy of trying to go after something like the M3 versus going after something like the Polestar. Not as exciting. There's no meaning behind getting it. It would have made a lot more sense if the Polestar was used throughout the story by the cops as like an unmarked car and then you get it back or something. That would have made more sense. But at this point, I've forgotten about the car. It's gone.
What did you do? What'd you do to that sweet-ass ride?
How dare you! I feel like we've watched this very recently, so I want to watch all the way through.
We have.
But...
We watched it like 2 weeks ago.
But the story of this game actually kind of kept going throughout. Unlike Need for Speed Most Wanted, where it kind of dipped around the middle, I do feel like this ended really quickly. It felt short in a couple of ways, and some points were not as well written as others. However, there are around 20 more minutes of cutscenes in Need for Speed Heat than Most Wanted. You might be surprised to know. So technically, the story is longer in Need for Speed Heat. I wish it was even a bit longer because it was so enjoyable. And I think that's one thing people get frustrated and angry with is that it was short, but they don't realize that, well, it was longer, but also the reason you're frustrated it was short is because it was good. That's why. This was definitely a bad point to it. It just felt a little bit... Who?
Anyway.
Oh, I'm a hacker. I'm a hacker. I hate that so much in every movie and TV show and everything. I'm hacking the mainframe. Please wait. So Matthew, go on. What's your feel on this one?
Probably going to be Heat, isn't it?
I am gonna say I prefer Most Wanted 05. I prefer the story of Heat completely. In terms of how it keeps the tempo, Most Wanted 05, it grabbed me with the story better. The story overall was carried the game in that way. So, once again, I think we've got a draw on our hands. Moving on to the next category. Can you tell what it is? It's all about the police. Now, I have disabled the mod. But Matthew, I don't know if it's going to take more than 5 seconds to answer this question. Which game has the best cops?
Heat.
I think you're wrong. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 definitely has the best cops. Now, if you got to Heat level 4, I'm already evading. You just ignore that.
That means I'm
wait,
right,
no, there you go. That's why, because they were bringing the unmarked cars. Now, the cop music in this game, the cop atmosphere in this game, the fact that you could take them out, but they couldn't take you out, it was based on them boxing you in, added another layer. You've got Pursuit Breaker to smash through cops. There's another one. We got 2 of them. Woohoo! Oh, we've got!
But the Heat cops, they're more brutal, son. You have not been hit once here.
More... Okay, to be... Oh!
And they don't do that.
Yeah, so they may be more brutal in some ways, but I think less in others. So I'm going to say the Heat cops are actually smarter in terms of actually forming convoys and stuff. But the solidness of these cops. Like, if I want a cop experience in an open world Need for Speed game, I'm probably still going to come to this game. I think there's a question about it. Sometimes the helicopter will also come down. You can take it out, which is hilarious. Pursuit breakers make so much of a difference. And the fact that they're keeping up with me at this speed. Oh, God, there's another one. I need pursuit breaker. Oh, my God, I need pursuit breaker. Oh, and another thing. Your tires pop, and that's it. You don't repair. It's proper brutal. No! No, 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 no! Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Help. I've not played this in a long time. No! No! I am stuffed! Come on, there's a gap! Squeeze! Squeeze! No, reverse, reverse! Alt F4.
So you're bad at this game. So.
I didn't get busted. You saw nothing.
I did. I saw everything. Here we go. Time for the better game.
We'll see about that, Study Jim. Now, I'm gonna say, I love the Heat Cup. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he is falling behind a little bit, but it's much better than Unbound. Oh, I can do speed traps and stuff to heat up quicker, can't I? Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, you can spam them.
I will spam them. He's lost me already. Don't escape. What? Hello. But I also don't want to talk bad about Heat because it is by far the best police system we've had in a modern Need for Speed, in an open world Need for Speed, like a proper open world Need for Speed. I'm looking at you, rivals. That's pretend. But that was probably the best, most intense version of the cops on that game specifically. But let's do this speed trap and get up at Heat level. Right, onto Heat level 3. Heat is picking up just a little bit. So I think we're about Heat level 4 on Most Wanted 05. So I know it's not even, but let's go for the same. The health system, oh, definitely added another element of, oh crap, I'm actually in a vehicle that, you know, can die. I don't love it and I don't hate it. I think it works on these games. I think it would be nice to see another game do it without it, because then you give more cops, you can spawn more of them, you can box us in, make them heavier. It's just a different type of play. So I don't prefer either. I think either's fine. I just think a health system is the more generic option, but we're almost Heat level 4. Oh no. Hello, big un. I mean, little un. Oh, right, Heat level 4. Okay, I'm gonna escape. This is my genuine attempts to escape. I'm gonna do amazing, aren't I, Matthew?
As long as you don't do any exploits or something.
And I'm not cheating. I am pure vanilla here, my man.
No, the jumps count as exploits or something.
I'm not doing a jump either. I'm just going to do a nice drive away. There's a spike strip ahead of me. Whoa!
Yes!
I'm escaping. Oh, the flamingo. Help. Help. Oh my God, Matthew. What are they doing? This is not a jump. This doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
It's grass. Escape, 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 escape. Hop, hop. Done. Easy peasy. Absolutely mashed it, mate. Sorted. Cops are easy in this game. I told you. So cops, I'm going to say most 105. Easy win. So the next category is going to be a bit controversial, I think. This is about the handling. So, I think it's pretty safe to assume that Need for Speed's handling has maybe always been a bit rough, especially on the more recent Need for Speeds. I'm going to say Most 105, people say, you know, Underground Most Wanted has some good handling. Matthew, I think I'm going to get shot after saying this.
Why?
I think the peak Need for Speed handling, in terms of pick up and play, and it works as you would expect, is actually going to be Undercover/World.
Yeah.
I apologize. Please don't shoot me. And on Need for Speed Heat, I would say it's not great, but it was definitely better than 2015, and in some ways better than Need for Speed Payback. In terms of the modern games, I would say each game has its own distinct better. Need for Speed Unbound overall is pretty damn good. They've really solidified the handling. There's a lot of understeer still left in it. It needs some work, but they are working on it. The new drift and drag handling updates coming, and of course, we're going to see some changes in the next game in terms of handling. They're still figuring it out, but I love that you can actually create a drift car. In Most 105, it wasn't really this whole split of drag drift. You just kind of built a car and then hoped and prayed that it would slide around a little bit if you wanted it to slide. There were things you could do, but it wasn't as in-depth in terms of the handling customization. Not to say that this is perfect, because the drifting is better in this game than Unbound. The Unbound drifting is garbage currently.
So better than the payback drifting.
Yeah, no, the payback drifting is kind of king.
I got like 1 million points in that game.
It's really good. I cannot deny that payback, the handling there in terms of drifting. Going back to this, it feels very, there's just not enough data to play with. And when you got curbs and stuff and the whole car just feels like it's got one individual suspension spring, it's kind of funny. Like there were games that felt like they had more in terms of physics. I felt that GTA felt it had more in terms of physics simulation than Need for Speed at this point. Doesn't mean it's bad, because I do prefer arcade races. But I do think people big up the handling of the older games a lot more than they should. Sorry. Matthew, what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Most Wanted.
I think I agree. The big difference between them is that if I see somewhere, I know I can get there 90% of the time in Most Wanted 05. If I see somewhere in Heat, I'll get there 50% of the time, because sometimes the car doesn't really do what you think it's gonna do. It doesn't know when to understeer or to oversteer. It doesn't communicate with you well. So yes, Most 105 I think just gets the handling, but in terms of simulation of how a car's kind of communicating, you see the tires individually moving, and when it takes curbs and stuff, it doesn't just stop dead sometimes like Most 105 can. They're getting there, and I think they're very close to having a better handling overall. But Most 105, I can actually play the game. Like, not get frustrated as much. Right, next up is map. I think it's going to be a pretty simple one. I love the map in this game, but it's very basic, very simple. No, there are definitely more iconic areas to me in this game, but I wouldn't say it's a incredibly well-designed map. That you'd agree? Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Need for Speed Heat map, I think it's better than the Unbound map. I think there's areas like I've memorized this map better than I have 05, and in that to me makes it a well-designed map. If I can't do that on 05 and I've played that game for years and years, I know a rough idea. There's even less roads to get to those locations, but in this game I can go, I want to get to this area, say the shipping container yard, and I know where to drive. Like, I don't have to bring up the map, I just go. And this is only something that generally happens on some racing games and every GTA. If you tell me where to go, I will get there. And it's such a nice thing to, I think it's really about map design. So I'm gonna say straight away, Heat gets the map design, son. Okay, we should tally them. Where are we? So we're on 4 for Heat and 6 for Most Wanted. It's going about as I expected. These two games in my head are constantly back and forth in terms of category. This is as much for me as it is for you guys. Like, this is just, I had to know. Right, this one is about progression.
Oh.
So the progression in this game was pretty straightforward. What you had to do is win races. It's a great shirt. You had to win races, you have to do milestone events and do the bounty, and then basically you would unlock new cars, every single blacklist member. Money would become easier to get, there was more of it. The police generally got harder because, you know, you wanted to keep the heat level higher, you used to do a reset. I don't know, there was a lot of elements of the game in terms of progression that definitely were really good. It was a very simple system, but it was a really nice tie together, and I think it works really, really well. Progression in Heat. This is an interesting one. I didn't mind it. I think overall they did a pretty good job. Again, you start in a lower end car, you build up, but I feel like, again, you were in supercars much quicker. And for my personal preference, I would have preferred to be in lower end cars for a little bit longer. You agree?
Yes, sir.
If you disagree, do let me know, because I know some people genuinely love, like Forza Horizon players, to be given.
That's my joke.
No. This is you are basically my son. Okay, at this point, you regurgitate the things that.
I like all the visual customization being unlocked on this game.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Ooh. In Need for Speed Most Wanted, you did have to grind out and unlock the parts, which did have a sense of progression, but it felt like visual. It doesn't do anything. Let me make the car how I want to make it. Ooh.
It's not 2015 bad.
Yeah, 2015 was more annoying. So if we put it by today's standards, I would say progression. I'm gonna say Heat. It feels kind of wrong. What is that?
Flamingo.
That woman is very happy to be on that flamingo. Bloody hell. Very highly linked to that is the gameplay loop that we use to do the progression. So once again, we're back on this menu. It got very stale, I would say, very quickly. So you beat a blacklist member, you go to the next one, you do races, milestones, bounty, next one, races, milestone, the gameplay, next one. But I wouldn't disagree with anyone that said that Heat's loop got kind of repetitive as well. So you had the day and night split, which when I first heard about it, I actually wasn't super excited about the split. I was wanting a cycle because everyone was saying they want a day and night cycle, but I disagree now. I don't actually really care. I like choosing, to be honest. So in the day you would earn money, in the night you would earn rep. Yeah. And it was a multiplier as well, so you could multiply the amount of rep. It was really intense, and it had these two dynamic modes of play. So basically, doing races, and then getting the police after you, and hopefully escaping. There were a lot of rage moments, which again, just like Most 105, there were a lot of rage moments, which is good. So honestly, again, I think nice, two different fresh ideas. I think both are interesting, and
one had more.
I mean, one's infinite and one has 15. I'm gonna say draw. There's a draw. That's something I say a lot, is that I really like the gameplay variety in the game, and we're definitely losing a lot of variety in terms of event type in current Need for Speed games. Lap knockouts, we got sprints and circuits in this game later on.
It's not even all you have in this game.
No. You've got toll booth events, speed traps. You've got drag races. There she is. Look at that. We're going to have drag races again soon. Very nice. A lot of variety in the types of events. But I'm going to be honest, towards the end, with the amount of events you had to complete, it became a bit much, even for me, after maybe a couple of times of playing through the game. In terms of the type of races here, we had, no, I'm not going to count those activities. We're literally just going to do circuit races throughout pretty much most of the game, which again, it's a racing game, so and sprint races, fair enough.
There's only about 4 drift events.
We did have drift events, which is pretty nice to have, and it also had some different missions, so like follow missions, and they break it up, and I really do enjoy that because it's just something different. You keep a certain distance from them. It was something fresh and different. But I think Most Wanted wins. There's just more to do with your car, and that's kind of the point. It's the main character is your car, right? It's the Heat trailer. All right, the reason I played that, music is the category, friends. Which Most Wanted 5.
I was gonna say, you'd be wrong if you didn't say that.
I can't extend anymore. I love the music on Heat, especially the night music. That was much better. And of course, Most Wanted also has the pursuit music, which is also better. For example, we have the iconic versus the cop music in Heat. It was fine. It was fine. I don't think there's anything.
It sounds like a bit of just a beat loop.
Yeah, it's all right.
Nothing too sparkly.
It does the job. If it was Unbound, that would be a harder question, actually. Anyway, music, Most Wanted 5. Wow. Okay, Matthew, if I say multiplayer to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind about Need for Speed Heat?
Not much, really. All you can really do is race.
Now, this is, again, I was going to say this is kind of unfair because we're comparing a new game to an old game. New games have multiplayer. Old games kind of had multiplayer. There were about 3 people that were playing them at the time. Most of us were poor kids without internet connections, or we had dial-up. So, I would say it would be unfair. However, there is no competitive multiplayer available for this game. So,
in this, all there is free
where am I going?
And all there is free roam and just races. That's it.
So you can do the whole gaming co-op, which is pretty nice. You can do cop events together. You couldn't do that at launch on a cop event. You can do cop chases together on this game. You couldn't do that on Unbound at launch. And I think that's the big thing for me. Can you race against each other? Yes, you can. And can you do the cop chases together? Yes, you can.
All you can really do is just race free-run cops, and
you can't. Yeah, there was no PvP, which does let it down. But I don't really care about competitive, and that's all you could do in Most Wanted 5. It was very simple, very basics. All you could do. Today, that's different, of course, you know. But I'm not talking about mods here. We're talking about vanilla schmilla. And I think it's a pretty much an easy win for Need for Speed Heat, because just look at how many people play together in Heat and how they don't in Unbound. Just that element of connectivity during your career progression and stuff. I'm sure many friendships were made on this game, and probably less so on Unbound, because everyone hates each other because they're doing speed lists.
Some people do link-ups.
Yeah, link-ups, good, but it's got to be Heat. Okay, this is a pretty important category to me, and a big issue with Need for Speed games since forever. I would say I don't think there was one Need for Speed game that didn't struggle with endgame. However, there are varying struggles, varying amounts of struggle with endgame in Need for Speed games. So, what do we mean by endgame? Things to do when you've completed the game. So we've beat the main story in this game. This is my save game, completed all the blacklist. And so what do we do after that? Now, I guess you could say, well, actually, you could do, if you go to the main menu, Matthew actually brought this up. You could do this, couldn't you, son?
It does tell you to do that after you finish the game.
It does. So there's 69 challenges. Beautiful.
Before it's ahead of its time.
So now once you've done those challenge series, then what do you do? Well, I don't really... I've got my Invisalign in. People are like, why has he got a lisp now? I've got my Invisalign in.
Quick race? You could...
Yeah, that sounds fun. Let's do quick race. No, I would want to jump back to the career mode and actually make use of my cars. And all I would really do is do police chases and basically unlock nothing. That is unfortunate. Like, I love Most Wanted 5, but there's no question the end game just was non-existent. But you could say that about any of my favorite games back in that time. It wasn't really that big a deal. We're talking about San Andreas, but I guess I could drive around and collect cars and buy houses that I didn't buy, and there were little things I could do.
You can do the side missions and the collectibles.
I would have done the side missions while playing. That's a good question. What PS2 game that kept bringing you back in terms of end game content?
I'm gonna have to think about this now.
I don't think it was that big a deal, was it? We just didn't care. Nowadays, people are like, oh my god, the game's only got 10 hours worth of content. This is the worst game I've ever played in my life. Stray was probably one of my games of the year a couple years ago. Fantastic game. Have I played it since? No. Will I again? I will play through it again. But I still love that game. It's still one of my favorites. You don't have to keep playing these games to have been a good game. That's what annoys me about GTA. People loved GTA 5 when they play it, but then they play it too much and they burn themselves out and they go, oh, the game's crap. The game's dead. No, you're done with the game. Allow it to be a memory of like, oh, that was an amazing game. Move on. Anyway, back to Need for Speed Heat. I'm not going to sit here and say that Need for Speed Heat has Forza Horizon or the Crew Motorfest levels of replay value. GTA 5, I'm talking about the online, replay value. However, there were definitely things to do post-game. Because of the amounts of cars, you hadn't bought the ones you wanted throughout all the games. So you wanted to go back and collect some cars and upgrade the cars because there was more you could do with the cars. There was more variety of handling styles you could do with the car, the drifting and the drag racing, and well, I guess less drag, but you had drag tires. So in the cars themselves, there was definitely more to do, more visual customization you wanted to check out. There was no challenge series, which was kind of sucky. However, one thing that I really did like was the crew system. At its peak, this was awesome. Everyone was always asking to join the crew. I've still got people today asking to join the crew. And then doing the actual crew time trials were actually kind of fun. I miss doing those. Some of them were absolute AIDS. Do you remember them? Do you remember the one on top of the rail line thing?
Oh, God.
And there was the one with all the code. Oh, absolute AIDS, man. You can be like, oh, dude, I've got daily challenges. Don't care. That's not end game content. Another actually really good piece of endgame content that involved the police, which is something that Need for Speed continues to push away and try and forget about. It's not true. They just don't do it like they used to do it. Do you know what I'm talking about yet? you have any idea?
No.
No clue. What if I go in here? Any idea?
Oh, it's Ultimate Plus parts.
The Ultimate and Ultimate Plus parts. Now, I don't even have them unlocked properly on the PC version of the game, but this was something I really, really enjoyed doing. So, to unlock the Ultimate and Ultimate Plus parts, you had to go into Night, get to heat level 3 and 5, and manage to do these special events. When you've completed these special events, then bang, my friends, you return to the garage and you get some special parts. And of course, you had to get them for all the engine elements of a vehicle. And if you didn't, you were rubbish. And it made it kind of good that you had to do that and that they didn't have PvP, because can you imagine the level of disparity between the Ultimate Plus parts people and the people on Elite? It would be pretty, yeah. I think it's safe to say, end game, it's got to be Heat, hasn't it? Right, I'm going to top them up and we'll do the big reveal. Drum roll, please. These are my final scores. Need for Speed Heat, 8. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, 9. Oh, that's right, my friends. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, the absolute winner of the best Need for Speed game ever made by 1 point. Congratulations, Need for Speed Most Wanted 05. Let us know down in the comments what is your favorite Need for Speed game and why. Check out these videos if you like racing games.
Goodbye.